flights that come into London every day from Hong Kong, from Dubai, from LA, from New York. It's massive.
Airlines have canceled around 500 flights to and from the U.S. Newly engaged travelers Anna and Charlie were meant to be on one of them.
We've had just horrible travel luck, it seems, our whole relationship, so.
Officials believe the travel turbulence will be temporary as they work to get planes back in the air.
Those impacts have been felt right here in the Bay Area at SFO. Flights to and from London have either been scrapped or delayed, and at least 2 flights out of SFO had to turn around mid-air. Passengers on board a British Airlines flight tell us that the pilot told them 3 hours into the flight that they needed to turn back. They arrived at SFO and then lined up to get hotel vouchers. Passengers of a Virgin Airlines flight like Jeff Tanton had an even worse experience.
We've been in the air for 10 hours. We're in exactly the same place. We landed here. We weren't given much information by Virgin Atlantic. We were pointing towards a hotel. When I called them up to check there was still space, because I imagine lots of people would be going there. They seemed confused and also said they were full. We've tried to get any other flights out to like a different London airport and have failed at every turn. So now we're just kind of sitting here and seeing what happens.
Yikes. Heathrow says that it hopes to be in full operation by tomorrow. There is a renewed push to make our Bay Area bridges safer. Federal safety officials say some bridges have not completed a crucial assessment to find out if they can stand up to getting hit by a large ship. The warning from the National Transportation Safety Board comes almost a year after the deadly collapse of Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. Investigators say the Key Bridge was above the acceptable risk of collapsing, according to federal standards, but the bridge's owner never actually performed that risk assessment.
What's frustrating is not only did MDTA fail to conduct the vulnerability assessment on the Key Bridge, they did not provide, nor were they able to provide, the NTSB with the data needed to conduct the assessment.
The NTSB identified 68 bridges in 19 states that do not have the vulnerability assessment. The agency warns that those bridges could be at risk in a ship collision. Federal warning covers every bridge in the Bay Area except the Bay Bridge and the Dumbarton Bridge. Lauren Toms says more now on the risk for a catastrophic collapse.
They're the lifelines of our region, but now they're the subject of a sharp safety warning. The National Transportation Safety Board is urging immediate action on 4 Bay Area bridges, citing a lack of rigorous testing to determine whether they can withstand a direct hit from a vessel. They identified the Golden Gate Bridge, the Carquinez Bridge, the Richmond San Rafael Bridge, and the Benicia Martinez Bridge, in an urgent warning for critical risk assessments.
The remaining 68 bridges that have not undergone a vulnerability assessment based on recent vessel traffic have an unknown level of risk of collapse from a vessel collision.
2 other Bay Area bridges, the San Mateo Hayward and Antioch bridges, were also named under a less severe warning. The NTSB's report comes nearly a year after the collapse of Maryland's Francis Scott Key Bridge, which crumbled after being struck by a cargo ship, killing 6 people. That tragedy today serving as a wake-up call for cities across the country, including here in the Bay Area.
We conclude in our report that had the MDTA conducted a vulnerability assessment of the Key Bridge based on recent vessel traffic, the MDTA would have been able to proactively identify strategies to reduce the risk of a collapse and loss of lives associated with a vessel collision with the bridge. We need action. Public safety depends on it.
The group stressed that the warnings are not indicators for imminent collapse, but rather to encourage a proactive approach to public safety.
What we are telling bridge owners is that they need to know the risk and determine what actions they need to take to ensure safety.
The Bay Area Toll Authority was among the first bridge owners to be named by the NTSB, along with Caltrans and the Golden Gate Bridge Highway Transportation District, for needing an immediate vulnerability assessment. John Goodwin with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, which is aligned with the Bay Area Toll Authority, says it's unclear when the last vulnerability assessment was done on Bay Area bridges, but one is underway right now.
Ships are bigger than they ever have been, which is a really important factor.
Left off the list was the Bay Bridge, also owned by Caltrans and operated by the Bay Area Toll Authority. It's been hit twice before, in 2007 and again in 2013. Goodwin says the use of bridges are highly safe, but risk of collapse is never zero.
This is a really, really remote risk, but it is important to note that it is not a zero risk.
The Golden Gate Bridge District told us in a statement that it's not clear when the last vulnerability assessment was performed, but they say they are in full compliance with all federal regulations. They tell us the North Tower sits half on land and half in the water, and a large vessel would run aground before colliding with the pier. The South Tower, which is anchored to bedrock beneath the water, is protected by a concrete fender ring that extends into the seabed. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, following those deportation flights by the Trump administration, we're meeting some people here in the Bay Area who say they are determined to not let history repeat itself.
It's like a nightmare that has been reawakening the trauma of my own families.
How President Trump's mass deportation plan is dredging up painful memories of the past. Plus, speed cameras up and running in San Francisco. Meet those who say for them, this is personal.
21 years old, wiped out in the prime of his life because someone was distracted, someone wasn't paying attention, and someone was speeding.
And it is that time of year when beer lovers line up in the North Bay for Pliny the Younger. We ask them why they keep coming back year after year.
We're looking at a beautiful day all across the Bay Area. Get outside and enjoy yourself, even though it is still going to be slightly below average this afternoon, warming up a degree or two into tomorrow. But the real warm up won't arrive until Sunday, when high pressure will be moving directly over the Bay Area, allowing temperatures to get to 80 degrees, likely for many locations across our farther inland areas and down into the South Bay, staying in the 80s through Tuesday before cooling down by mid to late next week.
In the wake of President Trump using the centuries-old Alien Enemies Act to deport people without having to go before a judge, local community leaders and immigration organizers have been condemning what they see as a dangerous repetition of history. The Alien Enemies Act is the same law that FDR used back in 1941 to send more than 120,000 Japanese Americans to internment camps. Suji Nam spoke with a woman born in one of those camps who says hearing about the law's use 84 years later has reawakened decades of old trauma.
Probably about 1.5.
Sasuke Ina shares this black and white photo of her past.
I'm 80.
She was born in the Tule Lake Segregation Center, a Japanese internment camp in World War II. Sasuke's parents were Japanese Americans living in San Francisco, but everything came to a halt after Pearl Harbor.
They were coerced into signing for the government to determine who was loyal and who was not loyal. Because they answered no to that questionnaire, they were transferred to Tule Lake Segregation Center.
Although Satsuki was a toddler in the camps, she knows the pain and suffering her mom especially endured.
My father was taken and separated from us in 1945. He was sent to a Department of Justice enemy alien prison camp in North Dakota.
The pain and trauma coming back today, nearly 8 decades later. President Donald Trump recently invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, the same act enforced to arrest Japanese Americans in World War II that he now enacted to deport more than 200 Venezuelans to El Salvador. Venezuelans that the White House alleges have gang ties, regardless of their immigration status.
It's like a nightmare that has been reawakening the trauma of my own family's experience of being dehumanized, abused.
A federal judge recently blocked Trump from removing immigrants under this act. But community activists like Jeffrey Matsuoka say the fight for immigrants isn't over.
As descendants of immigrants and survivors, for instance, at the internment camps in World War II, we see the same situation happening now that happened to our community, among other immigrant communities in the United States.
Jeffrey's mother, who was living in Peru, was taken and sent to an internment camp in Texas in a prisoner swap. She was one of more than 125,000 immigrants, many American citizens of Japanese descent, imprisoned during the war. Jeffrey says the history is still felt throughout Japantown, like at this language school, Kinmon Gakuen.
Japanese American forebears lining up there, right here in this hallway, going down to the auditorium to be registered, basically, to be deported or taken to camps.
Jeffrey and Sasuke say they will continue to rally together and stand in solidarity with immigrants facing deportation.
A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to stop all deportation flights scheduled using the Alien Enemies Act. The judge called the Justice Department's response to his request for information about the deportations, quote, woefully insufficient. Today, police in Oakland confirmed the arrest of a 16-year-old boy accused of shooting and killing a 15-year-old college prep student. That shooting happened Monday at 100th and International Boulevard. That teen who was killed is named Durbing Alvarado. According to a GoFundMe page, he was shot during an attempted robbery. A walk in memory of Alvarado is set for tonight, where that shooting happened. After more than 6 decades, police in Marin County have identified a woman who was found dead near a cliffside in Tiburon. Forensic technology and Project Justice helped identify her as Dorothy Jean Vaillancourt. A hunter found her remains near Paradise Drive back in December 1966. They still don't know how she died, but before her death, witnesses said that they saw her looking for shelter at a fire station and then being turned away. A man accused of beating a black woman in what was initially deemed a hate crime is now free. All charges have been dismissed in this case over this fight inside a downtown San Francisco liquor store. It was a hung jury in the case of Irvin Alvarado Lara Rivera. He says that he was defending himself in this attack after a local celebrity chef, Wendy Drew, thought that he called her a racial slur. Well, we spoke with her not long after the fight, and here's how she described it.
And I asked him, excuse me, why are you calling me that word? And then he comes back and he says, what? And then he just starts hitting me.
The public defender says it was all a misunderstanding. A jury voted 11-1 to acquit Lara Rivera of felony assault and 9-3 to acquit him of felony battery. The state's first ever speed cameras have been deployed in San Francisco, and these cameras are not without controversy, as you might imagine. Privacy has been a concern for some advocates. The idea behind the 33 cameras to keep the city safer, but they're getting mixed reviews from some people we spoke with.
Okay, so how do you feel about speeding cameras in San Francisco?
I better be paying attention to what I'm doing. George Orwell is turning over in his grave right now with witnessing what we have going on right now with all the cameras everywhere. Safety is the number one factor, no doubt about it. The privacy issue enters into it with all these cameras going up everywhere.
Well, despite the concerns you just heard, street safety advocates have been pleading for the city to take action. They reported 41 traffic deaths throughout 2024. And for some people, the issue is personal. Andrea Nakano talked with a man who's so passionate about making speed cameras the new normal, he drove 3 hours to share his story.
Right around 11 o'clock, I got a call. Someone screaming into the phone, your son's been hit, your son's been hit.
Joe Martinez lives in Fresno, but he drives to the Bay Area frequently to share his story. He vividly remembers the moment he learned his son was hit by a driver, going roughly 50 miles per hour over the speed limit.
21 years old, wiped out in the prime of his life because someone was distracted, someone wasn't paying attention, and someone was speeding.
He's been promoting safer streets at every level ever since. He joined Walk SF to push for change, including Assembly Bill 645, which led to these new speed cameras.
We are impacting lives, we're improving our streets, and we're helping laws get passed in order to save lives. So I really feel like I'm making a difference, and I feel like my pain has purpose.
They either have been installed or will be installed at 33 intersections around the city, areas that have a high concentration of severe injuries or fatal collisions.
These cameras have seen serious results in other cities. So in some locations, speed has dropped down by 94%. So we have great hope that this is really going to change the tide of our crashes and our fatalities.
It's working in places like New York.
Mayor Daniel Lurie says this is just part of his comprehensive plan to improve public safety.
Traffic safety is public safety, and anything that can slow down cars that are speeding is a positive for our city.
For the first 60 days, speeders will get a warning. After that, the fine will depend on how fast you're caught going and your financial situation. Public assistance to pay will be available for those that qualify. Martinez, though, says this shouldn't be looked at as punishment, but as prevention.
When I see the speeding drivers, I get mad, I get very emotional. I'm fighting back all the tears because I'm thinking, what if that driver had not been distracted? What if they had just slowed down? It's possible my kid could have at least, he could have survived.
In the South Bay, San Jose also got approval for 33 speed cameras, but city officials tell us they're still in the process of choosing a vendor. Speed cameras are also coming to Oakland. The city expects 18 of them to be set up by fall or winter. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, the line stretching around the block in the North Bay early this morning for Pliny the Younger. Now the release has turned into an annual reunion for beer lovers around the world.
This is our temperature outlook for the next 6 to 10 days, where we are likely going to be seeing well above average temperatures. You notice how it's circled over the four corners? That's known as a four corners high pressure system, and it's kind of going to sit stagnant over that area and bring above average temperatures for basically the entirety of the west coast of the United States over the next week or so. So keep that in mind, these above average temperatures sticking around into early next week, when we likely are going to see our first 80-degree day of the year. San Jose forecast high temperature 83 degrees. Their normal first 80-degree day is March 29th. So a couple of days ahead of schedule, but it is really nothing too absurd. It is normal for this time of year to see our first 80s. It is lovely out there, and it's going to continue to warm up through Tuesday before a big cool down and the potential for rain arrives. I'll break down the details on what you can expect over the next several days. That'll be coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
All right, and that little warm-up is timed perfectly for the time of year when a rare North Bay brew goes on sale. We're talking about Pliny the Younger. Veronica Macias is in Santa Rosa as Russian River Brewery unveils this year's edition of the Triple IPA.
Fans right now, they're getting really close to being able to walk inside the Russian Rivers Brewing Company's pub here in Santa Rosa for the annual release of the Triple IPA Pliny the Younger. And with a 10% ABV, some jokingly say this is the release of the beast, fans calling it the best of the beer. And that's why fans are willing to fly in from other parts of the country, some driving for hours just to wait in line and get a taste. This is the 21st year of this beer's release, and the owner never takes this crowd out here for granted. He places heaters out here. There's even coffee and donuts for people. And best of all, he tells us the stories of the annual reunions out here, friendships, and even marriages, which have unfolded after people met while waiting in line.
we're very honored that folks will come out every year, year after year after year. I was just talking with some folks right behind us. It's their 14th year doing this. Some folks the other direction. It's their 10th or 11th year. It really is flattering, and it really is for Natalie and I, my wife, co-owner of the business. It's really something for us to take in, that folks will come out for Planet of the Younger year after year, and it'll be like this for 14 days straight, normally.
So once people are inside, you have 2.5 hours at a table. You can purchase 3 beers, take 3 beers home, and if you want to join this crowd, you have until April 3rd.
Coming up in the next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, nearly a year after the Baltimore bridge collapse, officials warning that our Bay Area bridges could be at risk. We're taking a look at the quality questions nationwide. Plus, we are grilling California's insurance commissioner over massive rate hikes facing homeowners all across California.
Should it be legal that I don't have access to the Fair Plan's financials, yet I'm on the hook for their debt?
How he is vowing to fight on their behalf. I'm Ann Makovic, and this is The Minute. London's Heathrow Airport plans to resume some flights today. A big fire near the airport knocked out power to Europe's busiest flight hub, disrupting travel for hundreds of thousands of people. Heathrow says it doesn't know when all power will be restored. Southwest Airlines says it plans to realign its workforce at 4 U.S. airports, including San Jose's. That means job cuts starting in June. A company memo says laid-off employees can apply for open positions at other locations. They also have the option of accepting a severance package. And we are waiting for the result of Steph Curry's MRI after he took a hard fall in last night's game late in the third quarter against the Raptors. The Warriors star suffered a pelvic injury and did not return to the court. The Warriors are off today. Their next game is tomorrow. I'm Ann Makovic with The Minutes.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's going to be a beautiful weekend all across the Bay Area, although you might be wondering, there's a lot of moisture across Northern California. Is that heading our way? The nice answer for you today is no chances for rain throughout this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, or into Sunday, as the low pressure system that's bringing all of the rain is battling against an area of high pressure that's sitting over the Pacific. And that area of high pressure is actually going to win out, deflecting all of the moisture off and away from the Bay Area. Northern California, if you're planning on traveling up there this weekend, it's going to get wet. But the farther south you go, the drier it's going to be, as that is going to be the area that high pressure will be dominating. Still a mix of sun and clouds through Saturday, but by Sunday, that's when the real warm-up is going to arrive as high pressure moves directly over California. And that will likely allow our first 80-degree day of the year to return to the forecast for our more inland communities and down into the Santa Clara Valley. This is San Jose. 82 degrees by Monday and Tuesday. That's going to be the peak of the heat wave that's upon us, so do keep that in mind. These very warm temperatures not going to stick around for long. Again, that's for our inland areas, but even here in San Francisco, although we aren't going to be in the 80s, still low 70s by Monday afternoon. Keep that in mind. Monday and Tuesday, those are going to be the warmest days of the next 7. It is going to be absolutely gorgeous out there with little to no chances for rain. Again, a few sun and cloud mixes sticking around through Saturday, but the sunny skies and the warmer weather returning by Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday. A little bit more cloud coverage and the chance for some rain returns by Wednesday and into the late week. So enjoy the little sneak peek of spring, if not summer, while you can.
Investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board want to know if the Golden Gate Bridge could be at risk of collapsing if it's hit by a large ship. Federal safety regulators looking into the deadly collapse of Baltimore's Key Bridge discovered nearly every bridge in the Bay Area needs new safety assessments. CBS News senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve reports on the risks nationwide.
An urgent warning from the NTSB. They don't know if some of the nation's busiest bridges can withstand a collision like this one with a cargo ship.
We need action. Public safety depends on it.
Board Chair Jennifer Homendy.
What we are trying to do is prevent something in the future.
That risk assessment was not done for Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge prior to it being hit by the cargo ship Dolly and collapsing last year. 6 people died. The NTSB says that same assessment is needed for 68 bridges in 19 states, including the Brooklyn Bridge, Maryland's Chesapeake Bay Bridge, and the Golden Gate Bridge.
What we are telling bridge owners is that they need to know the risk and determine what actions they need to take to ensure safety.
The size of cargo ships has quadrupled in the last 45 years, far beyond what many bridges were designed to handle. A CBS News data analysis identified 416 bridges in 35 states over waterways used by large vessels like cargo and cruise ships, where inspectors deemed the pier protection inadequate, either because it was deteriorating, needed to be redesigned, or in more than half, the protections weren't in place at all, like the Lewis and Clark Bridge over the Columbia River between Oregon and Washington, where large cargo ships pass by its unprotected piers daily. A $95 million project to protect the Delaware Memorial Bridge from a collision with a ship even larger than the Dolly is nearing completion, installing what amounts to 8 man-made steel islands, 80 feet in diameter, around the bridge. We visited the project last April.
We are really concerned with a ship as large as the Dolly or even larger losing control and striking one of our tower structures.
Regardless of how a bridge is built, that's not good for it.
No, absolutely not. We want to make sure that these bridges are here for the next generation of people.
Well, PG&E is asking for yet another rate hike. The utility says they need it because of the high risk of doing business in California with extreme weather, inflation, and supply chain concerns. If approved, customers could see their bills increase by about $5.50 per month. It would not go into effect until January at the earliest. California's Public Utilities Commission is expected to review that request in the coming weeks. Over the past 3 years, PG&E customers have seen their bills jump 56%. The latest hike took effect this month, raising rates by about $3 on average. And Californians overall have the second highest electricity bills in the country. But customers will see some relief next month. That is thanks to California's climate credit program. Electric-only customers will receive a credit of just over $58. For gas-only customers, it's about $67. And if you pay for both, you'll get $125. This week, we revealed the Fair Plan Board has a lot of secrets. And now those of us who didn't have the so-called insurance of last resorts are still on the hook for its debt. We caught up with the state insurance commissioner in Sacramento to get his response to a CBS News California investigation. Julie Watts spoke with Ricardo Lara at the state capitol, where he testified before the Assembly Insurance Committee.
Should it be legal that I don't have access to the Fair Plan's financials, yet I'm on the hook for their debt?
It should not be legal, and it's not right.
As we explained earlier this week, the California Fair Plan is the only insurer in the state that doesn't publicly disclose its financials. And unlike Fair Plans in other states, its board meetings, minutes, audits, and reports are private. They won't even reveal who's on the Fair Plan's 9-member governing board.
The reason all of us should care is that we're now on the hook, all of us, in case the Fair Plan runs out of money.
Which it did, which it has.
That's right.
And former insurance commissioner Dave Jones explained the Fair Plan board is so secretive, they wouldn't even let his chief deputy insurance commissioner sit in on a meeting.
He showed up, they convened the meeting, and then they went to executive session and left the meeting.
Even the public representative on the Fair Plan's governing committee, who is appointed by the governor, is not allowed in the Fair Plan executive session. And that public representative can't actually share any information with the public.
No, we welcome your reporting.
Now the insurance commissioner is sponsoring a bill that would add 2 more representatives from the legislature to the governing committee. But it's not clear how 2 more committee members would actually increase transparency.
But they're still not going to be allowed in executive committee meetings where all of the actual decisions are made.
Well, we'll see. I mean, these are the bills still early, and hopefully can help guide us in terms of some of the things that we need to refine. But this is just the beginning. You're absolutely right. The Fair Plan needs to be more transparent.
The Department of Insurance audit found California's Fair Plan is far more secretive than Fair Plans in other states. They directed the board to increase transparency and accountability. That was in 2022. While the Fair Plan does now post some point-in-time data and statistics online, it's the secret board that chooses what to disclose and when.
Now, none of the bills that you're sponsoring thus far directly address that transparency issue.
Because we're working on our audit right now, and those audit questions also get to some of your questions. So I'm waiting. The legislative calendar's long.
Can you commit that when you come back and sponsor legislation before the end of this session, that it will in fact require that the Fair Plan is at least as transparent as its member companies?
100%.
Now, to be clear, the insurance commissioner alone can't amend state law. He'd have to sponsor legislation that would then be introduced by a lawmaker. You'll hear more from our interview with the commissioner next week as we investigate the increasing number of people in low wildfire risk areas who are losing their insurance and being forced onto the Fair Plan anyway.
Coming up next, plenty of March Madness at St. Mary's today. We're going to explain why the hometown Gales are hoping for an all-you-can-eat buffet in their first-round matchup.
Looking at a beautiful day all across the Bay Area. Get outside and enjoy yourself, even though it is still going to be slightly below average this afternoon. Warming up a degree or two into tomorrow, but the real warm up won't arrive until Sunday when high pressure will be moving directly over the Bay Area, allowing temperatures to get to 80 degrees likely for many locations across our farther inland areas and down into the South Bay, staying in the 80s through Tuesday before cooling down by mid to late next week.
All right, basketball fans, St. Mary's facing off against Vanderbilt today. And as Matt Lively reports, the Gales believe that they have the winning recipe to take down an SEC opponent.
This is the Northern California Honda dealers Madness Minute.
The Gales feel like they have a winning recipe to advance past Vanderbilt.
We want to have a seat at the table. So we have a seat at the table and see if we can keep it.
The Gales want to turn Friday's game into an all-you-can-eat buffet by grabbing every rebound in sight. St. Mary's out-rebounded their opponents this year by 10 per game. That was number 1 in the country.
I've been here 5 years now, so I've been in a lot of practices where I hear the coach just yell, "Crash!" like as soon as the shot goes up.
Mitchell Saxon doesn't want tomorrow to be his last supper. He's one of 3 seniors on the team, along with his roommates, Augustus Marshallonis and Luke Barrett.
I'll be walking down the hallway to the kitchen, man, and he's just walking by me, and I just get a shoulder check. All of a sudden, I'm like, it's 11:30. I'm trying to go get some milk and cereal right now. He's like, "Let's go, bro."
For the Madness Minute, I'm Matt Lively.
And if you are playing along in our bracket challenge, here is a look at how things are shaping up right now. Our Vern Glenn and Paul Hagen leading the pack there with 26 points. Zoe Mintz not too far behind with 24 points.
Happy birthday, dear Winona. Happy birthday to you.
Yes, we are celebrating Winona Lucille Harvey. This amazing woman just turned 106 years old. Friends, family, and community came together in Pacifica to celebrate her and her amazing long life. We got a chance to meet Winona and, of course, ask her what is the secret to this long life.
Well, there are many things, mostly things I couldn't control. And that is, I must have been born with great health. And my mother knew how to strive to keep us healthy.
Well, besides having a keen sense for fashion, as you can see there, Winona grew up in California. She went to work as a kindergarten teacher for more than 28 years, and she credits education as something that has kept her sharp over the decades.
I enjoyed classes in school and all that, and never lost my appreciation of that.
She still takes classes and enjoys writing. Her friends say that she gets around better than they do. Coming up, a Berkeley man with blindness is helping others in the blind community in innovative ways. How he is creating tools with inclusivity in mind.
Disability is just another way of being human, and it's a lot of us.
is on the way. This is our temperature outlook for the next 6 to 10 days, where we are likely going to be seeing well above average temperatures. You notice how it's circled over the four corners? That's known as a four corners high pressure system, and it's kind of going to sit stagnant over that area and bring above average temperatures for basically the entirety of the west coast of the United States over the next week or so. So keep that in mind, these above average temperatures sticking around into early next week, when we likely are going to see our first 80-degree day of the year. San Jose forecast high temperature 83 degrees. Their normal first 80-degree day is March 29th. So a couple of degrees or a couple of days ahead of schedule, but it is really nothing too absurd. It is normal for this time of year to see our first 80s. It is lovely out there, and it's going to continue to warm up through Tuesday before a big cool down and the potential for rain arrives. I'll break down the details on what you can expect over the next several days. That'll be coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
All right, well, spring is here, time of year when Union Square transforms into a tulip garden. More than 80,000 tulips are going to cover the area at Post in Stockton. And if you go, you can take home 8 tulips for free. Do beware, though, the lines are really long. The event runs from 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. tomorrow. March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and today we are highlighting a man in Berkeley who's helping the blind community reach their full potential, and he is not letting his own blindness define his life. As our Veronica Macias shows us, he's creating tools and inventions with accessibility in mind.
If Joshua Mealy can't find the right tool in his box to invent what he wants or needs to solve a problem, he could always just use his charm to solve it.
This is called an Arduino, and it's the brain.
Like the name of your group.
It is, yeah.
Mealy is a scientist, inventor, and he considers himself a man on a mission.
Disability is just another way of being human, and it's a lot of us. Like 15 some odd % of people in the world have a disability, and that's like over 1 billion. That's a lot of people, and you can't just marginalize that many people. You can't just discount them.
He was blinded at a young age, and it's only his life experience which has given him the vision to innovate technology and help others navigate a world built for and mostly by people who can see.
If you want to be successful, if you want to be good at being disabled, at being blind, you have to be ready to do more work than other people have to do, and that's not fair. That's, we shouldn't have to do more work. And so part of making the world more aware of disability and accessibility is let's reduce that extra work. Let's find ways to make it less hard for just a normal disabled person to succeed, to do the things they want to do. Like the fewer physical, digital, and societal barriers there are for people with disabilities, the better we will be at doing the things we want to do, contributing to society in the ways that we want to contribute, and just living our lives.
How he became blind is no secret. He tells the story in his recently released book, Connecting Dots, A Blind Life. A mentally ill neighbor threw sulfuric acid on him at the age of 4. It's a moment in time which changed his life forever, yet one in where his attacker led him to his life's purpose. The world had not been built for the blind, and Mealy has been determined to help change that.
A blind person, I will tell you right now, a blind person did not design this.
His work as a scientist and inventor aims to help the blind and the visually impaired adapt and simply enjoy everyday tasks. Inventing things like T-Maps, a web app that quickly creates maps in Braille and is inexpensive to print. YouDescribe, a platform that crowdsources audio descriptions for YouTube videos. Advocates say Mealy's work is life-altering because it also eases the financial burden for families.
Tactile maps, they were accessible and they were out there, but it was really, really expensive. And so what Josh did is created something that is like a web-based program so people could have that in their own home and just choose any address. If you're moving somewhere and you need to get to know the streets, where your school is for your kid, or if you're just new to the Bay Area and you want to print the latest San Francisco map. You can do it from home.
17 years ago, Chris Downey, thanks to people like Neely, managed to continue working as an architect when Downey lost his vision because of a brain tumor.
He was helping move all sorts of tactical graphics and things to help me work as an architect without sight. So Josh Mealy was absolutely critical in getting me going again.
In a world where technology now touches almost every aspect of our lives and keeps evolving, it's easier for inventions to be created with accessibility in mind.
As we keep inventing new technologies, we're going to keep needing to figure out how are we going to make them in such a way that everybody can use them. The better we are as a global community at normalizing blindness, the better off the world will be.
Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your First Alert forecast and another look at your top stories.